Welcome to the Game Recap channel. Today we will review a short summary of the game Split Fiction. The game begins with Mio's arrival at the Raider building. While taking the elevator up, she meets Zoe for the first time. After reaching the top, they meet other writers who have also come to publish their stories. Dressed in strange costumes, the writers meet with Raider. He then demonstrates a massive mechanism that will allow them to dive into their own stories. Mio expresses doubts about this because she came to publish her story, not to be a participant in a medical experiment. After calming Mio down, Raider continues his speech. Then, one by one, the writers enter their stories. Seeing this, Mio changes her mind and refuses to participate in the experiment. At that moment, Raider intervenes and orders her to enter her story, leading to a scuffle between them, as a result of which he pushes Mio into Zoe's sphere. Entering Zoe's sphere, Mio appears in her story, causing Zoe to scold her. During the argument, Mio and Zoe touch a rift, and they are transported to Mio's story. Having no time for arguments, they unite and follow Mio's story. Moving forward, Mio tells Zoe what happened outside and how she ended up there. Then our heroines adapt to the new world. After surviving an attack by enemy forces, we survive a plane crash and, through its explosion, enter a rift that transports us to Zoe's story. From Zoe, we learn that this story was only a prototype. Having no more time, we are forced to flee from trolls. While running, we see a rift on top of one of the buildings. Continuing to flee from the trolls, we reach a rift that transports us to an unknown space. Having moved, we try to understand where we have ended up. Looking around, we see that the rifts we pass through create a crack between the virtual and real worlds. Through this crack, we hear a conversation between Raider and scientists discussing how to steal our stories. Hearing this, Mio and Zoe decide to continue following the rifts to escape this trap. Entering the next rift, we find ourselves in Mio's story about revenge. As we move further, we are attacked by SRI fighters, and we are forced to fight them off. After escaping them, we enter a side story written by Zoe, in which we saddle desert worms and leave the desert. Returning to the main story, we see an Easter egg from the developers about their previous game, It Takes Two. While taking the elevator, Mio gives Zoe a brief description of the villain of this story. After going up, we meet her. In turn, she sends Mr. Hammer after us. After overcoming him, an enemy plane begins to fire at us, and we are forced to flee. After getting away, we fall into another side story. In it, we become pigs and search for apples to move further. Having reached the basket and descended, we are turned into sausages. To leave this story, we fry ourselves and make hot dogs of ourselves, which are eaten. Having returned, we move further and reach a parking lot where a conductor attacks us for lack of payment. Fleeing from the conductor, we reach the top of the parking lot where we begin a battle with him. Having defeated the conductor and his small version, we get into a car and flee from SRI. At the end of our escape, we crash into skyscrapers, as a result of which we fall into a fountain. After getting out of the sinking car, we stop to enjoy the view of Mio's story. Reaching the motorcycle, we learn that Mio's father was a mechanic. Switching to the motorcycle, we continue to flee from SRI. During the escape, a self-destruct system is activated on our motorcycle, and Zoe tries to pass a CAPTCHA to avoid this. Failing to deactivate the motorcycle's destruction in time, we jump off it. Switching to others, we enter an arena where the head of SRI attacks us in a tank. Having defeated her, we complete Mio's story. Before continuing, Zoe tries to understand why Mio wrote such a depressing story. Receiving no answer, we enter the rift and see how the crack with the real world becomes larger. At this time, Raider and the scientists try to forcibly pull out Mio and Zoe, but they do not succeed. In an attempt to fix something, Raider suggests restarting the mechanism, but then they will lose all stories. An enraged Raider contacts his investors and assures them that everything is under control. Entering a new rift, we find ourselves in Zoe's story, where Mio is very dissatisfied to be a monkey. Having found each other and resolved this misunderstanding, we continue to advance through Zoe's story. We move further, using our powers when Zoe decides to tell us the story of this world, which does not interest Mio much. Moving further, we enter Mio's side story, in which, using a wingsuit, we fly to a train. Having reached the first carriage, we return to the main story. To move further, we throw an egg to open a passage. And Mio is surprised that a chick survives after this. Next, we reach Lord Evergreen, on whom Zoe sees an inscription she left with her sister in childhood. Moved by the moment, Zoe decides to tell Mio what became her inspiration for writing this story. But Mio interrupts her, and we continue our way. Reaching a new side story, we end up on a television show written by Mio, where we must survive by delivering bombs to baskets. In the final round, we toss a bomb inside the host, and after her explosion, we leave this story. Next, we encounter the Monkey King, with whom we have a dance battle. After our victory, he opens the way to the Ice King. While moving toward his castle, we find another side story. In it, we must stabilize a reactor and prevent an explosion that would destroy the station along with us. Making our way through the complex, we reach the control point where we stabilize the core. However, something goes wrong, and we are sucked into a black hole. Through it, we return to Zoe's story. Reaching the Ice King's castle, Mio finds a cat, which turns out to be the Ice King. Having transformed, the Ice King begins to attack us. After defeating him and breaking the crystal on his head, he becomes a little kitten again, whom Zoe chases away. After this, we see the underworld being freed from the Ice King's curse as spring arrives. Passing through the rift, we see Raider making excuses to his investors. Hanging up the phone, he contacts us and tries to convince us to help him. However, we do not believe him and say that we know about his plan to steal the stories. Then he tries to reach out to Mio and offers to help with her father's situation. Intervening in their conversation, Zoe brings Mio back to her senses, and they head to a new rift. Entering Mio's story, we learn that soon our plane will be shot down and everyone will perish. To prevent this, Mio takes Zoe, and they leave the plane together before its destruction. Surviving the fall, we continue our journey and get used to the features of this story. Next, a heartfelt conversation takes place between Mio and Zoe, in which Mio shares that her father is ill and needs support with expensive medical drugs. Having dealt with this, we continue our way. While Mio improves our weapons, Zoe asks her what inspired her to become a writer. From their conversation, we learn that although there were easier options for earning money, Mio chose writing because she likes to write. Moving further, we fall into another side story. In it, we compete to see who reaches the finish line faster. Despite the fact that this is Zoe's story, Mio reaches the finish first. And we return to the main story. Taking the elevator up, we see a factory that fascinates Zoe. Here, Mio expresses her concern to Zoe that they will never leave their stories, but Zoe encourages her. After fighting off an attack by enemy planes, we enter the factory. Reaching the testing ground, we start a fight with a giant robot. In the process of the battle, we end up on the factory conveyor, where we finally destroy it. Moving forward, we encounter another robot. Pinning it down, Zoe notices a Western reference in this story. During the conversation, Mio admits that her father really liked Westerns, and she, without realizing it, added this detail to the story. Putting on jetpacks, we head outside, where we find another side story. In it, we see Zoe creating a story in real time. Toward the end of the story, we defeat a giant crab and free the prince. Together with him, we leave this story on a ship. Having returned, we stop to enjoy Mio's world. Moving further, we reach the center of the factory where a giant octopus is held. Approaching it, Mio becomes emotional and tells Zoe that this story was created based on the situation with her father and that she wanted to save him at least here. Having listened to her, Zoe supports her friend, and they free the octopus. Once freed, it moves toward freedom, and we follow it. Leaving the factory, Mio opens up to Zoe, who supports her. Before leaving the story, Mio meets the octopus's gaze and this calms her. After moving, we see that the rift becomes red after passing through another story. At this time, Raider turns on the recovery system and pushes us away from the rift. After this, Raider contacts us and says that he has been working toward this for 20 years. In turn, we mock him, saying that all he can do is steal other people's stories. Reaching the rift, we stop the recovery process and stabilize our space. Entering the rift, we find ourselves in Zoe's story, which is also based on her twin sister. After this, we receive the last dragon eggs in the world and set off on a journey. Reaching the dragon temple, we encounter a megalith, which was the cause of the dragon's extinction. Taking the eggs, we flee from it. Having gotten away, Mio asks Zoe why it is so giant. Having dealt with this, we reach another temple in which our dragons hatch. Mio is skeptical of hers but still puts it in her bag. Continuing the journey along the river, we encounter the megalith again. Fleeing from it, we fall off a cliff, and Mio flies to the other side with the help of her dragon. Uniting with Zoe, we continue to flee from the megalith. Having gotten rid of it, we end up in another side story. This time, Mio wrote a story about snowboard racing, in which the one with more points wins. At the end of the run, Mio wins and we return to our dragons. After such a descent, we stop to enjoy the view of the dragon world. After resting, we find a lake into which our dragons jump. Leaving it, they grow up, and we saddle them. Although this part caused Mio some difficulties, mastering the skills of riding dragons, we end up in the Dragon Slayer's lair. Having overcome it, Mio admits that her dragon is actually very cool. Moving further, we fall into a side story in which we are forced to flee from a space base due to an approaching asteroid. Having put on suits for movement in space, we head toward the last rescue shuttle, but we do not have time to get into it before the asteroid strike. Having reached the rescue shuttle again, we get inside. Having escaped, Mio says that she wrote this story to distract herself. In turn, Zoe teases Mio about the absence of air in space and says that she liked this story. Having returned, we saddle our dragons. Opening the gates, the megalith attacks us again, and we are forced to flee from it. Having gotten rid of it, we return the dragon souls to the statue. Having obtained all of them, we saddle the spiritual body of the dragon, which delivers us to the next side story. In it, we become teeth and learn that Mio wrote this story. Having reached the top of the cake, an evil dentist takes us prisoner. Having freed ourselves, we resist and, as a result of the struggle, drill the dentist with his own drill. Fleeing from the still living dentist, we leave the story, and Mio admits that she still dislikes dentists. Having opened new gates, we see a giant evil turtle that is running away from us. Having caught up with it, we begin a fight with it. Having defeated it, we throw it into a cauldron with lava, which melts it. We needed this to forge swords from its metal that will help us destroy the megalith. The metal obtained from the turtle falls into a lake below, from which we receive a new weapon, and our dragons become adults after bathing in this lake. Shocked by this, Mio does not hold back her emotions and immediately saddles her dragon, while Zoe gives her advice on how to sit on the dragon. Having prepared for the fight, we set out in search of the megalith. Having found it, we begin a fight with it, but it flees from us when we wound it. Pursuing it, we lose sight of it when it knocks us off our dragons, and we are forced to fall. Toward the end of our fall, we end up on the back of the megalith. Having sat on it, we move toward its head. With the help of our dragons, we reach it. When we destroy the defense of the megalith's core, Mio's dragon tears out its eye and attacks it with acid. Trying to throw us off, the megalith dives down, but we and our dragons deliver a fatal blow to it with our blades. Fleeing from the explosion, we saddle our dragons and see the megalith explode and disintegrate into thousands of pieces. Having won, we say goodbye to our dragons and let them go. Next, Mio admits that she really needed to distract herself from her dark thoughts, and this story helped her. Next, Zoe admits that her sister died when they were 12 years old. Next, we learn that the cause of this was an accident when they were playing. This incident devastated Zoe and her family. After this, Mio calms Zoe down and says that this story was created for both of them. Next, Mio explains that this story is wonderful, and with it, Zoe honored the memory of her sister. Mio calms Zoe down by showing her the picturesqueness of her stories. After this, Zoe thanks Mio, and we leave the story. Next, we see Raider, who is ordered to close the project and stop the machine's operation. Enraged by this, he destroys the monitors through which he communicated with investors. Returning to our space, we see how the machine begins to break down because of our actions. At this moment, the scientists inform Raider that it is possible to send us into our subconscious, but it is risky and does not guarantee the safety of our heroines. Reflecting, Raider comes to the conclusion that this will give him time to restore the machine, and he orders to send us. Because of this, our space is destroyed, and we fall. Having come to our senses, we realize that we have ended up in Mio's subconscious. Also, Zoe notices that this place is very similar to a prison. Moving further, we hear the voice of a prisoner who asks us to free him. Not knowing what else to do, we control spheres with the help of which we open the prison doors. Not having time to hide, we are detained, and we end up on a gladiatorial arena. On it, we survive until our spheres appear, which give us super suits. With their help, we defeat a giant robot. Having defeated it, we fall into the depths of the prison. Moving further, we reach an improvised elevator in which the prisoner contacts us again. Talking with him, we learn that Mio knows him and that it was she who put him here. Not understanding who the prisoner might be, we sit down to rest, where Zoe asks Mio about her plans for the future. Next, having gone up the elevator, we flee from a laser. Using her powers, Mio takes the laser under her control. Having descended, Zoe turns off the security system and we free the prisoner. This turns out to be a robot version of Mio, who tries to immediately kill the real Mio. Zoe saves Mio from death. Having united, they begin a fight with Dark Mio. During the fight, Dark Mio changes locations several times and instills terror in us. Using her power, Mio manages to enter Dark Mio's brain. Having intercepted control, Mio helps Zoe destroy the dark version of herself. After the victory, Mio feels relief and is surprised that all this anger was inside her. Having freed herself from her dark side, Mio becomes friendlier to Zoe and admits to her that she considers her her friend. Immediately after this, we fall and see how Raider orders the scientists to continue the restoration of the machine. Despite the danger to Mio and Zoe, the scientists refuse to do this, and Raider drives them out of the building. Taking the machine under his control, Raider turns on the security protocols and locks the building. The investors try to bring Raider to his senses, but he no longer listens to anyone. Next, we end up in Zoe's subconscious. In it, we receive spirits who help us with the passage. Having opened the bars, we end up in a temple in which memories from Zoe's life are painted on the walls. Having found a mural of Zoe's house, we realize that we must reach it. Continuing our path, we sit down to rest and enjoy Zoe's subconscious. Mio becomes closer to Zoe and listens to her story about Lord Evergreen. Continuing our path, we open new doors and upon entering, Zoe feels pain, but she says that everything is fine and we continue the journey. To move further, we use a huge crossbow. Having reached the centipede statue, we revive it using our abilities. The centipede recognizes Zoe and offers its help with an escort. Saddling the centipede, we move further. Having delivered us to the temple, the centipedes say goodbye to us, and from their farewell, Zoe realizes that these are her parents. Having received medallions from the centipede, we enter the temple, where we see Zoe's old house and learn that her sister drowned. Reliving the loss once more, Zoe begins to panic when a hydra attacks us. Dodging the hydra's attacks, we combine the pendants. This increases our spirits, and in this way, we destroy 2 heads. During our attack, Zoe loses her pendant, and we are forced to kill the hydra's heads using a huge crossbow. Having destroyed all the heads, we realize that it is impossible to destroy the hydra in this way. At this moment, we fall inside the hydra through one of its heads. Once inside, we set out in search of Zoe's pendant. Having reached it, Zoe is thrown away from Mio, and she begins to feel pain without the protection of the pendant. Realizing this, Mio heads to her friend and protecting her with her pendant, they reach Zoe's pendant. Having combined the 2 pendants, we use the power of our spirits to destroy the hydra. After this, we end up in Zoe's house where her sister is still alive. Seeing her sister, Zoe cannot hold back her emotions and only cries. At this time, Mio greets Ella, who approaches Zoe. Ella encourages Zoe and says that she is not to blame for her death. Ella wishes for Zoe to let go of this pain and live on. With the help of Ella, We leave Zoe's subconscious and return to our space. Having returned, we see how our space begins to collapse, and along with it, Raider's machine. In despair, Raider decides to forcibly penetrate our sphere. Invading our space, Raider moves us to our stories. In them, we are in the same space, but simultaneously in different stories. Having united, we begin to confront Raider. We use rifts from which we obtain weapons for the confrontation. When we first push Raider back, he moves us through different stories several times. However, we get out of them with the help of rifts. Meeting Raider again, we begin the final battle, in which Raider uses our own stories to fight us. When we defeat Raider, we fall together with him into portals, flying through the stories that we managed to pass during our journey. Having landed, we finally displace Raider from our stories, because of which in reality he flies out of our sphere and finally destroys his machine. Having gotten out, we leave the building and leave Raider to be detained by the police. Having left the building, Mio and Zoe wonder whether they should write a book about this story. After some time, we see how Mio has come to say goodbye at her father's grave. At this moment, Zoe comes to her and gives her the first copy of their story. Mio leaves the book for her father so that he would be proud of her. In turn, Zoe supports Mio and says that her father is proud of her. Besides this, Zoe herself is proud of her. Leaving the cemetery, Zoe questions Mio, who in the end admits that Zoe is her best friend. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video on the Game Recap channel.